Today we're cooking one of the South's most popular dishes, Southern cornbread, but it's not just regular cornbread, it's buttermilk cornbread. I'm going to show you not only the recipe, but I'm going to show you the proper techniques. Welcome to All Things Food. I'm John Woods, and this is the channel where we not only love to cook, but we cook to love, and today we're loving us some Southern buttermilk cornbread. I've discovered over the years that when cooking great cornbread, the technique is just as important as the recipe, because you can have a great recipe and have the wrong technique and your cornbread's not going to turn out the way you want it to. So what's some of the techniques I use? Let's talk about, I'm going to cook mine in a cast iron skillet. That's the way I like to do it. But if you don't have a cast iron skillet, don't worry. You can cook it in a sheet pan, an aluminum pan, a baking dish, whatever you want to. But the first thing you want to do is take that and wipe it down with a good high smoke point oil, like an avocado oil or maybe a vegetable oil. What we're going to do now is so important because we're going to preheat this. We're going to stick it into the oven, 425 degrees. That sounds a little high to you. I guarantee it's the perfect temperature. This is a great recipe I'm going to share with you today. We're going to use 2 cups of Martha White buttermilk cornmeal. And it's hot rice, and that's very important. If you want really good cornbread, I would really recommend this. Tell me what kind of cornmeal you use, but this is the one that I like to use. So we're gonna put 2 cups of that. We're gonna do a half a cup of self-rising flour. We're gonna take those dry ingredients and we're gonna mix them all together, get them thoroughly blended together. Set those aside, and now it's time for the wet ingredients that we're gonna use. We're gonna use 2 eggs, whisk those real good, and then we're gonna add in about 1 1/4 cups of buttermilk, and be sure to shake that buttermilk up if you have it in a container. Shake it up real good. And then we're going to add about 1/4 cup of heavy cream, and this makes a really good moist cornbread. Now don't tell my wife that I told you this, but a lot of times instead of using the heavy cream, I'll use about 3 tablespoons of Duke's mayonnaise. I think this really helps it. To me, this is the secret, but I'm not going to tell my wife that I do that. How do we mix all this together? We want to take our dry ingredients and pour them into the wet ingredients, and this will help us not over mixing our batter. It just works out so much better. Anytime you have a quick bread, this is the way you want to do it. We don't want to over mix this. Don't worry about lumps if you have a few lumps in there. Now what we're going to do, we've mixed up all of our dry and wet ingredients. Simple so far. Tell me some of the techniques that you use. We're going to let that rest there for about 15 minutes, and then we're going to do another trick that I think is so very important. Alrighty, I have my 3rd cup of hot oil here. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to pour that very carefully, slowly into here. You'll hear the sizzle. It rested 15 minutes. We're pouring that hot oil in there. I'm going to mix it all together nice and thoroughly. And what this is going to do, this is going to give you a head start on cooking this. It's going to make a really crispy golden brown cornbread. Alrighty, I've taken the cast iron skillet out of the hot oven. It's good and hot. My oil, remember we lubricated this with a little bit of high smoke point oil. This is rested for about 15 minutes. We're going to pour it in there. And you listen for that sizzle. It's already going to start cooking up around the edges. We're going to put this in the oven for about 25 minutes. Now let me tell you, this recipe that I gave you today is for about a 9-inch skillet. If you use anything larger, you may need to double the recipe. What I like to do is shake it down just a little bit, and I'm going to show you another little trick here that I like to do as well. See this little pan of water right here? I'm going to put that water in the oven with my cornbread. What that's going to do is produce steam, which is going to produce moisture, and it's going to make my cornbread much moister. It's going to be so delicious. I can hardly wait. All right, it's out of the oven. It took about 25 minutes. And how do we know if it's done? I'll tell you, there's a couple signposts. You can tell if this is done. One thing, and I don't like the old toothpick trick. One thing you can do is take a thermometer, check the internal temperature. If it's around 200 degrees, which that is, you know it's going to be done. So it's perfectly done. But I also like to look at this here. Just look up around the edge, the cornbread, and see how I'm pushing it in. It's not really bouncing back, good and firm. And see the cracking in it? This tells me that my cornbread's done. Now I'm not going to cut this right now. I'm going to let it rest for about 5 or 10 minutes before I cut it, because I don't want it to crumble apart. Wasn't that easy? We have not only the techniques, but we had the recipe. That's perfect cornbread right there. Tell me all about your cornbread experience. Thanks for watching today. Be sure to like this video. It really helps us a lot. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't, because we bring great recipes like this every single week. But the most important thing is not only remember love to cook, but cook to love, and love cooking some really good cornbread. That's the best I've ever had.